Welcome back to the Reidel Law Firm YouTube channel. Today I want to chat about some reasons why franchise disclosure documents are rejected by state regulators, right? The state renewal agencies. So before we chat about that, I'm Skylar Rocky Reidel. I'm with Reidel Law Firm. We do franchise law, and we do it very well. If you need help with it, reach out. We can definitely help you and chat about compliance issues and make sure you're selling safely and growing your system. So, all right, with that, so we just wrapped up renewal season, had some thoughts on state regulator rejections, and wanted to share those. So just a couple quick, bullet points I thought would be helpful for folks in the future. So one of the most common reasons that the renewal is rejected initially. Now, let me preface this, I guess. Let me say, when you get a rejection from the state regulator, it's not an outright, it's over, right? Very rarely is it that. I mean, there are certain circumstances, but frankly, our clients don't have that. But what happens is that it's rejected, and you have, anywhere from like 3 months to 6 months, depending on the state, to fix the problems, right? To address their deficiencies. So usually that means, hey, there's some typos, you missed some dates or whatever, or there's some formatting problems that the state doesn't like, and they give you time to fix it, right? So it's a good thing, right, to do that. So that's what I mean by rejection. I don't mean that you are no longer able to sell in the state. I mean that you have to take additional steps to make sure that you fix your FDD and sell compliantly in those states. So the first most common reason that I see for rejections are typos and little tiny mistakes, things that you wouldn't consider, a major issue, but the states have their rules. And these are things like updating the dates, right, throughout the document. You still have last year's date in there somewhere, or you didn't update the table adequately in item 20, right? You don't have the last 3 years. You have last, 3 years, and there's a gap, right? There's last year's not in there yet, or whatever. Things like that. Little typos, little things in there that are, you got to do them, but sometimes they're kind of easy to overlook on a 300-page document, right? That's why we have multiple people looking at our stuff, our franchise disclosure documents that we send out. Because this stuff is, it's hard. It's hard to catch some of this stuff whenever you got 300 pages that you're updating and looking through. So that's the most common one. They're very, very easy to fix, and the state regulators will point it out and tell you, hey, fix it, right? Come on. Yeah, you get your act together. So that's fine. It's not a big deal. The second most common, I guess, I'm not ranking these in any particular fashion, by the way. These are just as they come to mind because we've just been dealing with them. So another common issue that we have, or not that we have, but another common issue on rejections that I see, or franchisors who come to us who need help, are not having the right format and documentation for the additional documents that the state regulator requires. So when you're filing an FDD for renewal, it's not just the FDD, right? You need to have a red line version. I say red line, it's technically a black line. You need to have a black line version, which has very specific rules. This isn't just the typical, default Microsoft Word red lines. There are some changes you have to make, and I forget what the default is, but I remember anyone who comes and, works for our firm, we have to teach them the defaults, right? We're no, you can't do that. You got to do this, and we have to change them. I don't remember what those are, but there are changes you got to make. In each state, they typically have the same black line requirements, but you'll want to look those up, and you want to make sure that you're following that because that's a very, very easy mistake to make as a new franchisor, certainly, or someone who's not experienced in it, and get your FDD rejected. And then now you're waiting another 2, 3, 4 months, sometimes 6 months for the franchise regulatory agency, the state agency, to approve your FDD so you can sell it, because that one little mistake, right? It's not good. Not something you want to do. So that's an example of the FDD red lines or black lines. Also, you need to have a certain format for your FDD certification, your consent to server process, just other stuff, the sales agent disclosure forms. All of these have certain formats that are required. And there's most of the registration states, probably all of them actually, I'd have to double check, but almost all of them, if not all of them, have adopted the Uniform Franchise Application format, right? Promulgated by NASA, the North American Securities, whatever, Association. So because they've adopted that, there's a uniform format, right? And you need to make sure that every FDD application you're submitting has that format, has what's required. Some of those are required to be notarized. So just besides filling out the document and having the right format, you need to get it notarized. So that's kind of a pain if you're pressed for time and getting your paperwork in. You need to have a notary available, right? You need to be able to get those documents notarized quickly, so you can submit those documents to the state regulator. So, so those are probably the top two or most common two I see. Another one that's maybe less common but does come back to bite folks is not addressing very, very detailed items in the FDD. So what I mean by that, I'm not sure I'm phrasing it correctly, but what I mean by that is state regulators often require additional details above and beyond the federal rules, right? So, for example, state of California, very good example. They got a lot of rules and regulations. They require in Item 5 and in Item 6 of the FDD to explain in detail whether those fees are uniform, and if they're not, what's the range, or why is there a range? What determines that range? Is there a formula? And for franchisors who like using those ranges, or they negotiate deals a little more loosely than maybe they should be in regards to making deals with franchisees, now each year when they're disclosing documents, the FDD rather, to the state regulators, now they have to update Item 5 and Item 6 with additional details. Now we have to tell the state regulator why the technology fee is not uniform, or what the range of fees were for the technology fee, or whatever other fee, the call center fee, things like that. And it's very easy to miss and make a mistake on. And especially if you've got to disclose it once and you're not adequately updating those. The state regulators catch that. They know. And they're actually becoming more, I think, aggressive, it seems, in making sure that those disclosures and those statements about those fees are made proactively as opposed to them asking you for it. They're going to require you to state in there very, very clearly, what those terms were and what's happened. So, all right, so it's getting a little long. I'm going to wrap it up there. Those are just some of the common reasons I see with FDD renewals with state regulators. If you need help with understanding your FDD renewal process, or you need help doing it, or you have issues with a state regulator, give me a call. Let's chat about it. We help franchisors every day. We'd love to walk you through the process and make sure you get your renewal squared away so that you can get back out there selling compliantly and safely. So, till next time, have a good one.